What's up, y'all? My name is Alina, and this is like my fifth take. Oh my god, I've always wanted to speak into a microphone, into a camera, and I've always wanted to put myself online, but I'm not doing a very good job at it right now. But anyways, yeah, so I figured that, since starting Hmoob Mekas stories, I haven't actually really given you a small or a rough rundown about who I am and what I do and why I do what I do and why I'm out here in London. So I'm gonna try to make this a short video just so that you and I can get to know each other, and hopefully in the future some of you guys will be able to join me on some projects, which I would absolutely be all for. Alright, so I'm 22. I'm from California. I'm from a small town called Merced, and I went to Stanislaus State for my undergraduate, and for my postgrad, I am doing a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing here in London at a university called Kingston, and I am so far loving it. I really am. It's been a really, really nice way for me to be able to collect myself as an individual and build on my beliefs, my self-values, my morals. It's been a really fun time. I have seen so many things out here that home would have never shown me. Or maybe they would have, but then I just never really saw it because I guess I just never really paid attention. So why did I start Hmoob Mekas stories? At first, I really just wanted a platform. I really wanted to just start a platform where I can tell, stories about like my experiences as a Hmong American girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it's so fascinating to blend two identities, to have two identities as an American, right? Like, and Hmong, and like, I'm full Hmong, you know what I'm saying? Like, my parents are Hmong. I'm not half Meka, half Hmong, like, but it's the fact that I am Hmong, but then I grew up in an American society. And so I think that that is just so interesting. And it's the same thing to like other identities as well. Like people who are Chinese, but then they grew up, I don't know, African, like that's so random. But like, I think that it's just so interesting that like I didn't grow up around my people, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't grow up around a Hmong society, if there even is one out there, you know what I'm saying? And like, we can argue that we have, societies and communities out here in America or in France or Australia or anywhere, but really, like, we are still heavily influenced by the societies, the bigger societies that are surrounding us. We may have communities, but then I just think that it's so interesting, and I'm really open to the whole idea of like blending cultures, but at the same time, I just kind of wish that like at some point I kind of wish that I got a full experience of what it means to be Hmong, like. And I know that our history, I'm still researching it right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm diving really deep. But, the gist, the stories that our parents always told us or our grandparents always told us, it was basically, all about war. And it doesn't sound good, you know what I'm saying? But then yet, while I was growing up, I always had moments with my parents and my family, like, where I would have a moment where it's like, oh, like, this is what it means to be Hmong, and I would be like with my parents, or I'd be with my mom and my grandma, and even maybe sometimes my auntie, and like, we would go and, to the rice paddies, the rice fields, and right? Like, and then like the lu vana. I don't even freaking remember what it's called, but like these experiences at some point, like we had these kind of experiences, or I did at least, and I just thought like, wow, like I really feel Hmong. And then next day I wake up to go to school. I would wake up to go to school, and then I would just realize that like, man, I really like doing what Hmong people do. and then I had to learn the ABCs, and then I had to learn the 1, 2, 3s, multiplication, PEMDAS, and eventually everything got harder, as you go, because school, right, like it challenges you as you go and grow and go up higher. And I think being Hmong, it always sort of stayed the same for me, except when you grow up and you're a little bit taller, you're a little bit bigger, you're a little bit more mature. Your parents, they start to tell you stuff about, the new get you tông với từ nhà rồng này. And sometimes I always I didn't like being Hmong as an adult. Like I really didn't. But as a kid, oh man, like I didn't think anything was a chore. I loved it. I loved the blade. Like, yeah, it was tiring. Yeah, I would complain and be like, oh, ya. But then when I look back at it right now, like, oh man, like I actually really did enjoy Domblay. I actually really did enjoy, like, Eka or Nakanyamong, or even listening to the stories that my parents would tell me when I was young about Numplai Tianza or Zindoli Tia, Ningo Nu, and just, or Ndonjua, Zindonjua, and oh man, like I really wanted a place to just put all of this there. And that's the reason why I created Hmoob Mekas Stories. And I really just wanted Hmoob Mekas Stories to be a hub of memories and experiences. And I think that's exactly what I want to continue doing. However, ever since I've been out here in London, and now I'm going to get into the reason why I came to London, first off. And like, why didn't I stay with my community if I wanted to learn about being Hmong so much, knowing that there is a huge Hmong community out there in Fresno, right? Or even Sacramento, right? And my answer to that is simply, I just wanted to travel. I really, really, really think that it is so good to just get out of your own community, even though you love it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you shouldn't go or that you should stay. I'm saying that, like, I love my community so much that I have the ability to go and step outside of my comfort zone to be able to learn about other communities. What other stuff can I love? What other stuff can I learn? And I knew that traveling and going out of my comfort zone and going away from my community was going to pose challenges. I grew up on a street that has my whole family on there. Shout outs to Merced. I grew up on a street that has my whole family, like a whole community right there. It's a village. It's Hmong village right there. You know what I'm saying? We had resources, like you much chinote yung garo you do pau you olaira chinote yung garo you do pau you do yolo, you do law you do law, like cousins. We were all there. We all experienced a similar environment growing up. We may not have the same exact experiences, but that all depends on perspective. But I always felt like I needed a getaway from my community, to be honest. At some point there are good and bads, you know what I'm saying? There are good and bads, and whether I like to admit it or not, like, the reason why I came out here, yes, it was to travel, and then other times it would be because, like, I just need to think. I need some peace and quiet to think about what the hell I'm gonna do about my life, and I think that's also part of growing up. And I I've always wanted this. I've always wanted to come out here. I don't really know if I'm answering the question right now about why I'm out here. And also, I wanted to challenge myself. I really did. I like my life, I always feel like if I am not challenging myself every single day, I feel like an I feel like, what am I even doing here on earth, you know? But then also, of course, I have days where I'm just kind of like, yo, let me just chill out because maybe I've been doing a lot. And then I realized that sometimes, I just need to rest, right? So for me, like, again, going back to challenging myself, like, I really wanted to challenge myself. How can I thrive away from home? How can I thrive without a community out here, right? Like, I'm going to be completely by myself. How committed am I? How committed am I to be able to pull through with my dreams and my goals and what I've set out to do here by being out here? You know what I'm saying? Like, how bad do I want to tell a story that I'm here getting a master's degree, getting into debt, and being far away from my family? So that is the challenge that I gave to myself. And in a way, like, when you say it out loud like that, it's kind of like an obligation to succeed, So I really needed, I really wanted, I don't say need because I really could just go to sleep back in Merced and never come out here. But I really wanted a new change of lifestyle, a new challenge. And I felt like this is the next moment. And so who knows? I might be in Japan 3 years from now. I might be in New York 6 years from now. But one thing about me is I'm always going to find the next big challenge. As a Hmong American, and here, let me go back into another reason why I'm out here is that I think that Hmong people can make it freaking big. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, y'all, I really want an international exposure. Because many of us can write, right? And no hate to nobody who's in California, who's Hmong, who's writing, right? But I think that if we are all writing from the same perspective, right, there's not a lot of variety and diversity in that. So I think I wanted to pose another challenge to myself and come out here and challenge challenge the perspective of outside the US. How does it look like when I'm outside of the US and I'm writing about this stuff and I'm looking in, right? I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I really just wanted to learn new tactics, There's such a trend. Like, when you follow the trend, right? The trend goes up and then it dies. But for me, like, I want to write and create, like, timeless stuff, Timeless stuff that you can read years later and you'll be like, wow, like, yeah, I relate with that, And I know some great writers who are timeless like that. Kao Kale Yang, I love her. Mai Der Vang, Sol Vang, and from the hometown himself, Ba Mua. Like, these are some of my favorite Hmong writers, poets, and they're what kind of got me started and going to my own dreams. So, and in terms of, like, going for a creative writing program out here in London, like, writing just kind of came up during my undergrad. It's funny because I was never really, like, a huge writer, but then I always kept a journal with me. Like, I always kept, like, a certain journal with me, or, like, something to write with. So I always had a notebook or a journal, and I don't care what the heck I wrote in there. It was always I was always gonna write something. If it was either me creating a new story, or if it was either about me, going through relationship problems or boy problems or whatever it was, or whoever ticked me off that day, right? Like, I always wrote it down. And so that was kind of like the connection of me in writing. But what to write about didn't come until later in my life. I really just wanted to capture the essence of being Hmong and American. And then from that moment, I realized that, yeah, I want to write about Hmong people. I want to write about who I am. I want to write about who my parents are, and who my grandparents are, who our elders are, who our war veterans are, who, what happened, right? Like, but in a creative form, because we may or may not have history books out there, but these stories, like, we, as Hmong people, we bim long daning la shi bim long ning ning, right? But a lot of them aren't real life, stories about people that we know. And, I actually thought of becoming a journalist at some point, but it didn't fulfill. I didn't like the technicalities and the seriousness of it. I like bending the truth sometimes, even though, I like bending the truth and creating, a compelling story out of something beautiful, something hard, something difficult to talk about. I want to create something beautiful out of hardships, Yeah, that's a little bit about me, why I'm out here doing what I do, why I created Hmoob Mekas stories, and yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this bit. I am looking forward to all the support and all the love, and I just hope you follow me on this journey. So, yeah. This is Alina, and I see you. Peace.